Deck profiles are back, and while this isn't a Meta Monday episode, I'm going to try to get back to 2 deck profiles a week, with a short BT16 format just before EX6 drops. Now is the time to start looking ahead. For the first deck profile of this format, you know I'm going to jump straight into Magnamon X as the first one. Remember, I've gone over some counters from Tuesday's video in regards to the rules and how to counter Magnamon X. If you haven't checked it out, I'll have it linked in this description. Also remember, if you've been enjoying the content I've been churning out, do consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell for more future content. Magnamon X has a wide variety of ways to play it, and depending on what tricks you want to try and pull off, this list can be adjusted to suit your fun. Keep in mind some players may be opting for the yellow variant of the build, and utilize Rapidmons and utilizing the option card Awakening of the Golden Knight. While you can utilize this variant with the Niaromon for the trashing of the top or bottom card of your security stack to gain 1 memory and make Magnamon X immune and unsuspend simultaneously, frankly, there are just a lot of extra steps to get there. Without further ado, let's just jump right into this deck profile. Level 2 wise, you can run 4 eggs, you can run 5 eggs, it's completely up to you. For the level 2s I tested with, the BT16 Demi Vmon is arguably going to be your mandatory 4 of in the deck. This Digimon provides your 2 or more color Digimon with an all turns plus 1000 DP buff, whether you're Magnamon or Magnamon X. For a secondary egg, I looked at EX2 Xiaomon because this does give you a DP buff at your level 4 line because you're typically skipping Digivolutions, even with the level 5s. You could run Wanyamon for the potential draw when you have a Davis in play. But another option I found to be worthwhile is BT15 Tsunomon, who can gain you a DP buff through your opponent's turn, in combination with your Vmon adding cards to your hand, or even drawing via the promo one. Bottom line, 4 copies of BT16 Vmon, and dealer's choice. Level 3 wise, you're purely running Vmons, and the main reasoning is simply consistency. Magnamons can only Digivolve from Vmon for a special Digivolution cost, and particularly BT13, though it can float a Vmon from your sources, can only Digivolve from a yellow level 3. Meaning as a result, you must run Vmons if you do not want to run into consistency issues. In the grand scheme of things, Magnamon X really only has 2 flex spots of your 14 rookies. You'll want to run Vmons from BT12 for finding your Digimon with the free in their trait, and Davis Motomiya. The promo Vmon for reducing your Digivolution cost and drawing cards when you go into a free trait Digimon while you have a Tamer in play. And of course, the newest BT16 Vmon for its plus 2000 DP buff on your turn. Your 2 flex spots could be the OG Jammer from BT3, a memory when you unsuspend from EX1, or in my particular situation, I'm looking for more searching with the starter deck variant. This one pairs well in particular with BT13 Magnamon, because it can play from the sources or the trash, meaning you can find more of your combo pieces. When it comes to Magnamons, of course you're running all Magnamons in the level 4 category. But is it possible to have too many Magnamons? In testing, the best Magnamon I found is the newest Starter Deck 17 variant. This Magnamon has a security effect that Digivolves 1 Digimon. Then at the end of the battle, one of your Digimon may Digivolve into this card without paying the Digivolution cost. Meaning in the mirror, if this Magnamon is hit in security, you can de-Digivolve the Magnamon X before its effect can resolve. If you have a Vmon in play, even better. You could trash the level 2 and level 3 sources and then bounce the Magnamon back to hand. Otherwise, this Digimon has Blocker, Armor Purge, and a when Digivolving effect that trashes the top Digivolution card of one of your opponent's Digimon for each of that Digimon's colors. The more colors, the more sources removed. The bounce is just icing on the cake. BT13 Magnamon also has Blocker, but has an all turns effect that when it would leave the battle area, whether it be by option, Digimon effect, or battle, draw 1. Then you may play 1 Vmon from your hand or this Digimon's Digivolution cards without paying the cost. And lastly, you've got the Magnamon that was the original first printing that has Blocker and Armor Purge. When Digivolving, unsuspend this Digimon and it gets plus 2000 DP until the end of your opponent's next turn for each card with armor in its traits in your trash. You can get really big with this Digimon, and believe me, sometimes you need it. Level 5 wise, this deck is simple. Zudomon Ace, You need nothing else. In the mirror, you can trash the Digi-Evolution sources of Magnamon X as it attacks, and prevent it from gaining its all-turns immunity before the security is checked. It must have that armor form, or Magnamon X in its Digi-Evolution sources, in order for this effect to resolve successfully. One consideration is bringing this up to 4, but I haven't done that quite yet, considering you can simply cheat into the level 6s from Magnamon. Because Magnamon isn't a vaccine type, this is where you do have to pay a steeper cost if you're basing it in the yellow color. Your level 6s of course are purely going to be Magnamon X. In current playtesting, I've been rocking 4 of the new Magnamon X's, and 1 copy of the old one from BT9. You've honestly heard enough about the BT16 variant in the last 3 videos I've made from it. But when it comes to the OG variant, you could opt to run 1, 2, or none. There are definitely some flex spots in the build. Magnamon X also has an advantage in that you can use it as pseudo-recovery. And of course you can evo into this as well if you're trying to maintain armor sources, or Magnamon X in case your opponent's Zudomon aces. Granted though, they can typically remove 2 Digi-Evolution sources, which means that doesn't really matter. For level 7s, Death X-Mon also makes a return. Considering in my mind there are a couple decks to look out for. Rapidmon X and Imperial Dramon decks are the main competition, and while Rapidmon X can protect from deletion and bounce, D-Digivolve is not one of them. Hilariously, in some test games I even Digivolved on top of my Magnamon X into this Digimon because it was literally the best move at the time. If you're feeling spicy, you could utilize Shine Greymon Ruin mode here as well, or even Justmon GX. But as I mentioned, more players will be playing Tamers that can play Digimon, which means as they're building wider boards, Death X-Mon gives you the most value. Option card wise, there are a slew of them that you could run. For this variant, I opted not to run any of the techs you might see in other lists. Blue Memory Boost can help you gain 2 memory with a delay, and cast a wider net for searching for any blue Digimon. Mental Trainings can pull for your Digimon or Tamers off of the top 2 cards, but remember, they have to be blue. In total, out of the entire deck of 50 cards, there are only 8 dead cards that can't be pulled. The Death X-Mon, the last 4 option cards, and of course, Shu Yulin. Blinding Ray is one of those dead option cards that I understand the use of it, but it's really only used if my opponent is going to set up the Blast Digi-Evolution traps, and I want preemptive immunity. Heaven's Judgment likewise is a great option card for removal. Originally I had Heaven's Judgment at 3, but after a lot of playtesting there were times where I found myself with Starter Deck 17 Magnamon more, and I couldn't play it because I didn't have a yellow source in play. Other option card considerations you could utilize are Sorai if you're looking into trashing Digi-Evolution sources, and Stun the board of wider building boards like Numamon. Fire Rocket for the extra aggression. But one thing to note here is that Magnamon X is not an armored Digimon, meaning you'll have to promote out a Magnamon or Evo into one to set up for this play. And finally, Final Zubagon Punch for the added 3000 DP buff, and additional effects of Blocker, Reboot, and Security Attack +1 if your DP threshold exceeds 16,000 DP. While this option can be useful for your BT8 Magnamons and Magnamon X's, finding the black source with the extra 2 memory to play with it can be difficult at times. In initial testing it was kind of funny, but overall I felt it was too inconsistent and would rather utilize the space for more consistency pieces or extra memory reduction costs. Finally, for Tamers. 2 of these Tamers are cards that can't be searched by any means of the deck. However, in combination with Magnamon X, you could turn Magnamon X into an Alliance reboot body that becomes a complete menace, if not already. In some test games, Shu Yulin absolutely helps decimate your opponent's security in conjunction with Death X-Mon. Silly, but it works. The last Tamer, of course, goes to Davis Motomiya, the promo that can play a Vmon when it's played, and at the beginning of your turn, if you have a Digimon with a free trait, gain 1 memory. Magnamon X has a lot of advantage, and can really be a pain when playing against it. It's not just that it can be the ultimate shield, but the ultimate offense as well. But when it comes to the grand scheme of things, decks that can deal with this deck are the ones that can be equally fast or have equal amounts of aggression when it comes into going into security. Honestly, I would argue Yellow Vaccine would be this Digimon's worst matchup. But to that end though, what are some of the elements of this deck that you'll be utilizing? What are the cheeky options do you see yourself running? And what else would you change about the profile that I've mentioned here? Let me know your thoughts, because Monday is starting the whole process all over again, and with it, a week of regular uploads. This is DIGI-PANDA, logging out.